The world believes I was born with glory and prosperity. As the noble daughter of the Kui clan engaged to the crown prince from birth, my life was supposed to be splendid, stable, and free from hardship. Yet no one knows my life has never belonged to myself. My fate was a bargaining chip for clan interests, a pawn in imperial power struggles, and a caged bird trapped by feudal rituals. I never owned a single choice of my own. I lost my voice in my childhood and grew up quiet and restrained. Earlier than most, I understood the warmth and coldness of the world and the helplessness of noble families burdened by honor and disgrace. Sent to the southern Chen Palace to learn arts, I met Zhou Chen, my only salvation, my lifelong heartbeat, and my unfulfilled longing in this mortal world. The world reveres him as the invincible southern Chen king, loyal, mighty, and guardian of rivers and mountains. But to me, he was never a lofty royal lord, merely my master whom I fell for in youth and cherished in every passing year, loving deeply yet never daring to speak. The years in southern Chen Palace were the only carefree days in my life. Behind the high palace walls, there was no imperial strife or worldly restraint. Accompanied by senior brothers and sisters, sheltered by my master's tenderness, I grew up in his gentle gaze and sank into his quiet affection year after year. He taught me literature, integrity, and righteousness, shielding my innocence and protecting me from worldly hardships. I indulged in the warmth of the palace and his tenderness, yet I knew all along I was merely a passing guest here, destined to return to my predetermined fate eventually. My affection for him sprouted in ignorant youth, deepened through daily companionship, and was hidden in years of restraint. I knew his lifelong devotion belonged to the nation and the people, that he vowed never to marry or indulge in love, dedicating his life to the peace of rivers and mountains. I knew I bore a royal engagement, bound by clan honor and rigid rituals. Between us lay the boundaries of master and disciple, monarch and subject, worldly barriers and national righteousness, leaving no room for companionship or fate. Therefore, I concealed all my joy and suppressed my deepest affection, restraining myself through every season. Daring not to reveal my heart, I stayed by his side merely as a disciple through every spring and autumn. He guarded the thousands of families in the peaceful land, while I guarded only him, my hidden obsession, and an unspoken love that belonged to no one but myself. I watched him don armor and march to wartime and again. Every departure filled me with fear, terrified that the ruthless battlefield would take away my only light. Every time he returned victorious, covered in wind and frost and exhaustion, he still treated me with tenderness, granting me peace and reassurance. In those years, he protected the rivers and mountains, and I preserved my original heart. We watched each other from afar with proper boundaries, accompanying each other through years yet forever separated by an uncrossable distance. All my life, I have never craved power, wealth, or the noble title of crown princess. My wish was simple and humble, to break free from the shackles of the Kui clan and worldly fate, to cast off the identity of a political pawn, and to stay by his side peacefully in a quiet courtyard for the rest of my days. Yet the plainest wish in the world became the most extravagant delusion of my life. Fate has always been cruel, never blessing sincere love. Imperial intrigue and imperial suspicion could not tolerate the southern Chen king's loyal and upright spirit. He devoted his entire life to serving the monarch and defending the territory, pure and unyielding in integrity. Yet he could not overcome human treachery and imperial jealousy, finally suffering the cruelest torture and dying unjustly. The moment I heard the news, my world collapsed completely. The rivers and mountains remained the same. The wind and moon still lingered, yet my world had lost Zhou Chen forever. All mortal scenery turned desolate in an instant, and the rest of my years were left with endless loneliness. He dedicated his life to protecting the nation and its people, only to be destroyed by the imperial court he had sworn to defend. No sorrow in this world is more absurd and heartbreaking than this. After his passing, there was no longer a southern Chen king, no one left to shelter and protect me. Though I still possessed noble status and a secure future in the eyes of the world, I was nothing but an empty shell. My engagement remained valid, my clan still stood prosperous, and everyone urged me to live on and accept my destined peaceful life. Yet no one understood my heart had departed with him, buried forever with the integrity of southern Chen Palace and the unfulfilled love of my life. I have always been gentle and obedient, abiding by rituals, yielding to fate, my clan, and the world's expectations. But for once in my life, I chose to be willful, to live for myself, and to devote myself utterly to the hidden love I had cherished for half my life. The world longs for longevity and stability, yet I only wish to return to dust with him, true to my original heart, my sincere love, and the desperate affection of my youth. Dressed in brilliant red, not as a bride for mortal marriage, but as a farewell to the mortal world and a funeral gown for my love. Standing atop the city tower, I overlooked the vast rivers and mountains, the land he had spent his whole life guarding. It was grand and peaceful, yet it could never accommodate the slightest fulfillment for him and me. Everyone in the world has a way home, but I have no destination, no one to rely on, and no future to hope for. In this life, I am Kui Shi, the noble daughter of the Kui clan, the destined crown princess and the 11th disciple of Southern Chen Palace. Trapped by identity, rituals, and fate, I loved silently without daring to confess, cherished without being able to stay, and longed without any hope of fulfillment. I abided by boundaries all my life and restrained my affection for years, yet I never waited for a happy ending. If there is an afterlife, I ask for no noble birth, no splendid future, no mortal prosperity. I only wish not to be a daughter of the Kui clan, free from worldly shackles and fatal bondage. I wish for an ordinary life, no master-disciple boundaries, no worldly barriers, to love openly and freely, to accompany him peacefully through every season, belonging only to him for all eternity. Zhou Chen, my lifelong regret is loving you in silence, cherishing you without result, and longing for you without fate. In red wedding robes, I follow you to the underworld, sacrificing my life for my love, my heart for my devotion, and my remaining years for your lifelong loyalty. The years cycle on endlessly, the past remains unchanged, and I shall never return to this mortal world again. I have often pondered the thin, cruel line that divides fate and longing. For all the years I resided in the Southern Chen Palace, I thought time would be gentle enough to grant me a quiet eternity of watching over you. I asked for no intimate affection, no worldly title, no grand declaration of love. All I ever wished for was the simplest thing: to stay in your shadow, to greet you at dawn and bid you rest at dusk, to witness every victory and soothe every weariness you bore for this nation. Even confined to the identity of a disciple, even bound by the cold rules of etiquette and hierarchy, I was content merely to exist within your orbit. Yet fate did not even spare me this humble blessing, snatching you away from the mortal world before I could even muster the courage to voice the softest fragment of my heart. People speak of time healing all wounds, but I have learned that some sorrows do not fade. They settle. They sink into the bones, into the quiet breaths taken alone in empty chambers, into the endless gaze cast toward distant mountains where your army once marched. After your unjust passing, the entire realm continued to turn, unhurried and indifferent. The imperial court celebrated its fleeting stability, the common folk went on with their ordinary days, and the nobles of every clan returned to their trivial struggles for power and favor. No one paused to mourn the hero who had bled for their peace. No one grieved for the wrongs done to the man who had never once harbored selfish desire. Only I, trapped in the gap between the past and the present, remained frozen in the grief of losing you, unable to move forward and unwilling to let go. I still recall every subtle detail of our days together, fragments so faint yet so vivid they haunt my every waking moment. I remember the way you would pause mid-lesson to correct my calligraphy, your fingers hovering gently over mine without crossing the line of propriety, your voice low and calm as you taught me the integrity of ancient sages. I remember the quiet nights you spent in the study, poring over military scrolls and state documents long after the palace fell silent, lamplight gilding the sharp, gentle lines of your face, exhaustion hidden beneath your unyielding composure. I remember every homecoming, every dust-covered armor, every faint scar you bore for the rivers and mountains, every soft smile you reserved solely for me amid the weariness of war. These memories are my only wealth in this barren mortal life. After you left, I walked through every corridor of the Southern Chen Palace alone, tracing the wooden railings we once leaned on, standing beneath the old trees where we once watched the sunset, sitting in the quiet courtyard where you once taught me to play the qin. Every corner holds your shadow, every breeze carries the faint echo of your voice. Yet the palace is hollow now, stripped of its warmth and life, the senior brothers and sisters scattered. The guards who once patrolled the walls moved on to new posts, and the bustling, gentle vitality of the mansion faded into endless silence. The palace that once sheltered my entire youth has become the grandest, loneliest tomb for my unspoken love. I have endured countless nights of quiet weeping, tears falling silently in the dark so no mortal soul could witness my despair. As a noble daughter of the Kui clan, I was raised to uphold poise and dignity, to never reveal weakness, never surrender to sorrow, never defy the will of heaven and court. The world demanded I remain composed, to accept the imperial arrangement, to marry the crown prince, to become a dignified empress, to live a life of splendor and status that all women in the realm would envy. They told me time would erase my youthful infatuation, that I would eventually forget the Lord of Southern Chen, that worldly glory would fill the emptiness in my chest. How little they understand of love that takes root in youth and grows into the very core of one's soul. My love for you was never a fleeting infatuation, never a childish whim of a lonely young girl. It was a love forged through years of silent companionship, nurtured by every act of your quiet kindness, solidified by every time you chose righteousness over self, loyalty over gain, and duty over ease. I did not love you for your title, your military prowess, your unparalleled prestige that shook the four borders. I loved you for the man beneath the armor, the gentle teacher who cherished my innocence, the loyal subject who sacrificed everything for his nation, the quiet soul who bore all the world's burdens alone without complaint or regret. The imperial court feared your power, envied your reputation among the people, and fabricated crimes to destroy you, yet they never truly knew you. They saw only a formidable warlord capable of overturning dynasties, a threat to the imperial throne, a hero too brilliant to be contained. They closed their eyes to your lifelong devotion, your unwavering loyalty, your pure and selfless heart that never once craved power or luxury. They buried your innocence beneath false accusations, stained your lifelong loyalty with unjust charges, and ended your noble life with the cruelest torture imaginable. The world you spent decades protecting became the very blade that slit your existence apart, and no voice dared to speak up for your injustice. I alone know the truth of your character, the purity of your intentions, the weight of every sacrifice you made. I alone witnessed your humanity behind the invincible exterior. You were never a rebellious lord, never a dangerous power, never a man driven by ambition. You were simply a guardian of the land, of the people, of the righteousness that few in the corrupt imperial court still clung to. For this alone, you were condemned, and for this alone, my grief will never fade. In the days following your death, I endured endless inquiries and consolations from nobles and royal kin. They spoke empty words of comfort, praised your supposed crimes to justify the imperial verdict, and urged me to sever all ties with the fallen Southern Chen Palace for the sake of my clan and my future. They pressured me to abandon my memories, to disavow my admiration for you, to bury every trace of the love that defined my youth. I nodded in compliance, maintained my gentle and docile facade, and endured their hollow words in silence, for I knew no mortal tongue could defend your innocence, no worldly persuasion could reverse the injustice done to you. The only justice I could offer was to remember you faithfully, to cherish our memories until my last breath, and to follow you into the afterlife rather than live a hollow life in this ungrateful world. I have long abandoned all fear of death. Mortal life, to me, became meaningless the moment you drew your last breath. The crown princess title, the glorious future, the eternal prosperity of the Kui clan, all these once desired blessings turned into empty shackles the second you were gone. What joy is there in supreme status when the only person I revered and loved no longer walks the earth? What comfort is there in endless longevity when every passing day is only prolonged sorrow and lonely remembrance? What purpose is there in living among mortals when my heart has already departed to the underworld with you? I prepared for my final choice slowly and silently, hidden beneath the obedient demeanor the world expected of me. I listened patiently to the arrangements of my clan, accepted the approaching imperial wedding rites, and wore the crimson bridal robes without hesitation. The world believed I was finally yielding to fate, embracing my glorious royal future, letting go of my youthful sentiments for the fallen Southern Chen king. None suspected that the brilliant red silk, the elaborate hair ornaments, the ceremonial robes of a royal bride were not worn for mortal marriage, but for a lifelong farewell to the mortal realm. This grand wedding that the empire celebrated was never a union with the crown prince, but a solitary pilgrimage to meet you in the afterlife. Standing atop the high city tower, overlooking the endless rivers and mountains you sacrificed everything to defend, I felt no regret, no fear, no hesitation. The wind swept through my red bridal garments, billowing the fabric like burning fire against the pale sky, and for a moment I fancied I could feel your presence beside me once more. I fancied you would turn to me with that gentle gaze, the same gaze that watched me grow up, that protected me from all harm, that softened the harshness of war and power with quiet tenderness. In that final moment, all the pain, all the restraint, all the unspoken longing of a lifetime melted away. I have spent my entire life abiding by rules, yielding to others, suppressing my heart, and living for the expectations of the world. For 20 years, I was a dutiful daughter, an obedient disciple, a compliant noble lady, a predetermined royal bride. I never dared to be selfish, never dared to pursue my own happiness, never dared to speak my love aloud. So in my final moment, I chose to be utterly selfish. I chose to live and die for my own heart, for the only love I will ever hold in this life. They will remember me as the tragic crown princess who abandoned her imperial future for a forbidden love. They will record my name in history as a foolish, infatuated woman who threw away glory for a doomed affection. Let them. I care nothing for worldly reputation, for historical judgment, for the praise or condemnation of future generations. I only care that in this life, I loved you sincerely, guarded you faithfully, and chose to accompany you in death when I could not accompany you in life. That is enough for me.